Good morning. So for this video, we will be discussing yung pinakahuling topic natin under the data collection process. In the previous videos, we discussed yung nanguna, the general ways of collecting data. In the second video, we discussed yung specific na probability sampling methods. And then for now, for this video, we will discuss ang non-probability. Okay? So as a recall, yung ating probability sampling, ito yung mga methods na may equal and independent chance na mapili yung ating mga samples. Okay? Ibig sabihin, lahat ng elements ng ating population pwedeng mapili. Walang conditions na kailangan i-satisfy before sila mapili. Basta silang lahat may equal and independent chance na mapili. Walang bias because nga walang preferences, walang criteria. Okay? So lahat may chance na mapili. Yan yung probability. However, sa non-probability, ito yung may mga criteria na. Okay? Dapat may masunod na certain preferences or criteria before mapili yung ating element as part of the samples. Okay? So non-probability because hindi lahat may chance na mapili because pag hindi mo na-satisfy yung criteria, hindi ka mapipili. So may bias na. So nagiging non-probability sampling na siya. Okay? So as a definition, no? So a non-random or non-probability sampling design, these are used when the number of elements in a population is either unknown or cannot be identified individually. Okay? Sometimes may mga elements na mahirap makita or mahirap ma-identify. Halimbawa, we want to survey or do some interviews sa mga rebel groups. Okay, so we do not have a list of the rebel groups or mga members. So mahirap yung hanapin yung ating mga samples. So in practical na gawing through random sampling yung ating selection. Instead, other method, yung non-random, which whoever ang andyan, sila na lang yung ating magiging sample. So non-random na sila. Okay? Because yung iba, walang chance na pili. So kung sino lang yung andyan, siya yung napili. Okay? So in such situation, the selection of elements is dependent upon other consideration. So dependent na siya sa certain criteria or considerations. So examples no ng ating non-probability or non-random sampling, we have quota sampling. Okay, from the word na quota, may hinahabol tayo na number. Okay, once we reach that number, stop na. Okay, the researcher is guided by some visible characteristics such as gender or race of the study population. Okay, so meron tayong target na number, pero meron din tayong characteristics na gusto. Okay, the sample is selected from a location convenient to the researcher. And whenever a person with this visible, relevant characteristic is seen, that person is asked to participate in the study. Okay? So, whoever ang may nakakitaan ng ganun na characteristic, magiging sample agad siya. Okay? The process continues until the researcher has been able to contact the required number of respondents. Okay? Pag naabot na yung quota na number, stop na yung survey. Okay? Halimbawa, meron tayong bagong kape na na-formulate. Okay? And we want to test that sa mga adults. Okay? So, yung ating criteria is adults. Okay? So, hindi pwede yung mga bata. Okay? So, meron na tayong visible na characteristic, yung adults. Okay? Let's say from 20 to 40. Okay? Because sila yung age na medyo acceptable no or mahilig sa kape. Okay? So meron tayong group, okay? Meron tayong characteristics sa group, yung adults, okay? So ayan, ang gagawin lang is pupunta tayo sa convenient na place or location. Then ipapa-free taste yung ating kape, okay? And once we reach the quota, let's say 50, once we reach 50 adults, stop na yung ating sampling. Okay, quota sampling, meron tayong property na adults, and then meron tayong number, which is yung 50 heads. Okay? At ganun yung ating quota sampling. Okay? We do the sampling or we do the survey based on the number. Okay? So, yung ating quota and based on a visible characteristic. Okay? So, ganyan yung ating quota sampling. Okay? Once we reach a quota, we stop the survey or sampling. Advantages ng ating quota sampling, least expensive. Okay? Mura lang. Because however, ang conveniently andyan, sila na yung ating samples. Okay? You do not need any information such as a sampling frame, the total number of elements, their location, or other information about the sampling population. Okay, hindi na because kung sino lang yung andyan, okay, sila agad-agad yung ating sample. No need to research for any information about the population at all. Okay? It guarantees the inclusion of the type of people. Okay? Because meron tayong visible characteristic, yung sino lang yung type of people na gusto nating i-interview or isa-survey, sila lang yung magiging part of our sample. So kanina nga, so adults yung ating target. So based sa ating criteria na adult, and then 50 adults, masasatisfy natin yung gusto ng ating research. Disadvantages, the resulting sample is not a probability one. The findings cannot be generalized. Okay? Kasi nga merong bias sa selection, kaya hindi pwedeng gamitin conclusion sa population yung ating result. Okay? So, ang conclusion lang natin is based lang dun sa respondents. Hindi siya pwedeng i-project or i-represent sa buong population. Okay? So, let's say yung 50 adults na yun is galing sa Gensan, hindi natin pwedeng sabihin na lahat ng taga Gensan is gusto yung kape because hindi naman probability yung ating sampling method. Okay? So we simply say na yung 50 na respondents have preferred or nagustuhan yung ating kape na product. Okay? The most accessible individuals might have characteristics that are unique to them and hence might not be truly representative of the total sampling population. Another non-probability sampling method is yung accidental, okay? Whereas quota sampling attempts to include people possessing an obvious or visible characteristic, accidental sampling makes no attempt. Ito naman, same with the quota sampling pero walang visible characteristic. Okay? Kahit sino na lang, okay? Walang criteria na susundin, okay? However, accidentally or conveniently andyan, so sila na yung magiging part of our samples. Okay? The method is common, no? The method of sampling is common among market research and newspaper reporters. Okay? So kung sino lang yung nakikita sa daan na hablot, agad-agad sila yung ating sample. That is accidental sampling. Accidentally sila yung andyan, so sila na yung magiging part of our samples. Okay? It has the same advantages and disadvantages ng quota sampling. As you are guided by any obvious characteristics, some people contact may not have the required information. Okay? So, similar din yung ating quota and accidental sampling. So, pag na-reach yung target na number, stop na. The difference lang, may property or characteristic na guide yung ating quota sampling. Ang accidental, wala. So, whoever is convenient, siya na yung ating samples. Okay, another one is judgmental or purposive. Okay, from the term na judgment or may purpose yung ating sampling, it is based on the judgment of the researcher as to who can provide the best information to achieve the objectives of the study. Okay, ito madalas sa mga interview. Okay, instead na random tayong kukuha ng mga samples, why not ipili tayo ng mga expert because we think sila yung makapagbibigay ng best na information. Okay? So here the researcher only goes to those people who his in her opinion are likely to have the required information. So kung sino lang yung may expertise or may alam and willing i-share yung alam niya, siya yung kukunin na sample. Okay? This type of sampling is extremely useful when you want to construct historical reality, describe phenomenon, or develop something about which only a little is known. Okay? So let's say sa judgmental or purposive sampling, meron tayong na-produce na bagong whitening lotion. Okay? So instead na isa-sample natin sa mga consumers na babae, why not dun ang kukunin natin na samples are the doctors or mga dermatologists because sila yung expert sila yung makapagbibigay kumbaga ng best information. So whatever yung sasabihin nila will be considered as a valuable information. Okay, so that is judgmental or purposive. Okay, because we select kung sino yung expert or makapagbibigay ng magandang information based on our judgment doon sa ating samples. Okay? Another one is snowball sampling. Okay? So ito naman, ang keyword dito is networks. This is the process of selecting a sample using networks. Okay? So to start with, a few individuals in a group or organization are selected and the required information is collected from them. Okay? So parang snowball. Okay? We start with a small ball. And then habang pinapagulong yung ating snowball, it will turn into a bigger ball. Okay? So parang ganyan yung snowball sampling. We start with few individuals, kaunting tao lang. Okay? So once we have done interviewing or surveying them, they are then asked to identify other people. Okay? So tatanungin sila kung meron silang mga kakilala na pwede ring mag-participate sa survey. Okay? And the people selected by them become a part of the sample. And this process continues until the required number or a saturation point has been researched. And this method is useful for studying communication patterns, decision making, or diffusion of knowledge within a group. Okay? So sa snowball sampling, we start with a small group. Okay? So let's say may maliit tayong ball. Then, yun yung ating individual. And then magre-recommend siya. After siya na-interview, magre-recommend siya ng another person. Okay? Then, yung mga na-recommend niya naman is magre-recommend pa ulit ng other person. Okay? From a small sample size, lalaki yung ating sample size because yung ating mga respondents are giving or are referring other respondents then. Okay? So, from a very small group of people, nagiging malaking sample size siya. And we stop until ma-reach yung desired na number. Okay? So, very useful siya pag medyo mahirap maghanap ng samples. Let's say, if you want to survey yung mga alumni ng isang university, let's say alumni ng 1980 down, okay? Kumbaga alumni ng 1980, 79, 78, mahirap sila hanapin pa isa-isa. So what we can do is we start with a few people we know, okay? So interview tayo ng tatlo, okay? So obviously yung tatlo na yan, meron silang mga kasamang alumni din na kilala nila. So at the end of the interview, we ask them to put the names or mga contact numbers or mag-refer pa sila ng mga tao. So magbibigay sila ng tatlo, dalawa or more. Then saka natin i-interview naman yung kanilang mga ni-refer na mga names. Okay? From a very small group, lalaki na yung ating group. That is a snowball sampling. From small, naging malaking network. Okay? So those are our 4 na non-probability sampling methods. Unang-una, quota sampling. Okay, may quota tayo, may certain number. Okay? So pag naabot na yung certain number na yan, we stop the survey or sampling. Pero dapat may criteria or may characteristic na sinusunod. Okay? So similar sa quota yung ating accidental. However, accidental, walang property or walang characteristic. Randomly kuha ng mga samples until ma-reach yung number or yung quota. Okay? Another is yung judgment or purposive sampling. That is, we base our survey or sampling dun lang sa mga expert or kung sino yung tingin natin ang makapagbibigay ng best information. Then the last is snowball sampling. We start with a small group of people na magre-refer ng mga names and then saka natin i-interview yung mga na-refer and then lalaki yung ating sample size. Okay? Then a third na groupings ng sampling method is yung mix. Okay? So like I said in the second video, yung mix sampling design or method, minsan, yung systematic sampling is probability. Depende kasi siya kung saan tayo. May isang element doon na pwedeng mag-classify sa kanya as mix or as a random sampling. Okay? So definition muna, systematic sampling has the characteristics of both random and non-random. Okay? So in systematic sampling, the sampling frame is divided into a number of segments called intervals. Okay? If the first interval is a fifth element, the fifth element of its subsequent interval will be chosen. Okay? So in this method, sa systematic, meron tayong interval, magka-counting tayo. Okay? So after a certain counting, yan yung ating sample. For example, so yung method natin, number 1, prepare a list of all the elements. Ilan lahat yung mga pagpipilian. Number 2, decide on the sample size. Ilan lahat yung mga pipiliin. And then number 3, determine the width, no? So ano yung ating interval? Okay, yung ating interval is ang total na lahat divided by kung ilan lang yung ating pipiliin. Okay? And then we use SRS or simple random sampling to select the first element. Okay? So let's say sa ating example, so we have here yung ating sample size, we have 50. Okay? So we have a population na ang elements is 50 lahat. Okay? So 50 lahat yung ating elements. Okay? And then yung ating N, ilan lahat yung pipiliin na sample? Let's say 10. Okay? So kukuha tayo ng 10 out of 50. Okay? So yung ating first procedure, ilan ang N? Ilan lahat? 50. Ilan ang kukunin? We have 10. So now we select yung ating sample sa yung ating interval, which is N over N. So yung ating K dyan is capital N, 50 divided by 10. So the answer is 5. Okay? So ibig sabihin, every 5 na element, siya yung ating magiging sample. Okay? So magka-count off tayo ng 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, sample. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, sample. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, next sample, and so on. Okay? So ang fourth procedure, kailan or saan tayo magsisimula. Okay? So dito na yun papasok yung idea ng mix, no? Pwede natin magiging random siya pag i-draw lots natin yung first element. Okay? Pag hindi natin i-draw lots, select lang tayo, pili lang tayo, tayo na ang nag-decide kung saan magsa-start. That is non-probability. May bias siya. Okay? Because hindi fair yung pagkapili sa unang element. Okay? Kaya siya nga mix. Merong property ng random, pwede siya non-random. Okay? So pag random siya, we draw lots kung saan magsisimula. Non-random siya pag tayo ang pipili. Okay? So based on our own decision lang. Okay? So, kung saan tayo pipili. Okay? So let's say nag-draw lots tayo. Then number 3 yung first element. So si number 3 yung ating unang pipiliin. Then afterwards, bibilang ng 5 because ang ating interval is 5. Okay? So from 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Therefore, si 8 yung ating next na element. And then another 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Si 13, ang next element, and so on. Until maubos yung ating sampling frame. Okay? So in the end, we have selected 10 samples. Okay? So ganyan, mix siya, depende sa kung saan tayo nagsimula. Pag nag-SRS or draw lots ang yung ating first element, that is random na sampling. Pero pag walang ginawang drawing lots or hindi siya simple random, tayo ang decide as a researcher kung saan magsisimula, that is non-probability or bias siya na sampling. Okay? So that's why mix sampling yung ating systematic. Okay? So ayun, nagka-count off. Okay? Normally sa industry, ganito yung ating sampling, systematic sampling. Let's say meron tayong mga light bulbs, no? Every 1,000 light bulbs is a sample, okay? So every 5,000 product yung ating sample. So meron tayong certain interval para mag-select ng sample. Okay? So ganun yung ating systematic sampling. Okay? So yan, those are the different sampling methods natin. Pwede probability, which is pwedeng simple random, stratified or cluster. We also have ang non-probability or non-random. So under that, meron tayong quota, accidental, judgmental, and then snowball sampling. And then yung pangatlo, yung third, no, na pwedeng random or pwedeng non-random is we have yung mixed sampling or the systematic sampling. Okay? So sa lahat ng ating sampling methods, just be careful sa ating mga errors. So pwede tayo magkaroon ng sampling error, okay? So ito yung ang sampling error naman is may error sa napiling sample, okay? So it refers to differences between the sample and the population that exist only because of the observations that happen to be selected for the sample. So ito is random and we have no control. Okay, so sadyang pag draw lots natin, yung napiling sample is not reflective sa population. So nagiging sampling error siya, may problema sa sample. However, siya ang napili. So hindi siya pwedeng palitan because that is randomized yung pagkapili sa kanya. So sort of nagiging sampling error na siya. May problema sa sample. That is random and we have no control over that. Okay? Ang non-sampling error naman, ito yung error because of the mistakes sa pagkuha ng data. Okay? So, mistakes sa sampling procedure, mistakes sa recording, and mistake ng researcher. Okay? So, most likely caused by poor planning, sloppy work, and others. Okay? The sampling error refers to the differences between the population and the sample that exist only because of the observations that happen to be selected for the sample. Okay? So, ayan mga examples ng ating mga non-sampling error. We have error sa acquisition, non-response error pag deadma lang, walang sagot yung ating respondent. So, non-response error na yon. And then selection bias. Okay? So, maling pagpili ng mga samples. Okay? And normally, kahit na increase natin ang sample size, it will not reduce this error. Unlike sa sampling error, pag marami yung ating sample size, nare-reduce yung error na yan. Okay? So, yan more examples ng error sa data acquisition. Pwede incorrect measurements being taken, mistakes made during transcription or yung pagsulat ng ating information or data, inaccurate na recording, may maling pag-record or pagsulat ng data, then inaccurate na mga responses or yung ating mga samples are mali-mali or hindi masyadong naunawaan yung tanong, kaya yung sagot is hindi rin sakto. Okay? So, non-response error, ito yung, nasabi nga, yung deadma lang, yung ating respondent, so ayaw sumagot. Okay? Pag ayaw sumagot, liliit yung ating response rate. Okay? Selection bias, no, mali no, yung ating pagkapili ng ating sample because we have some preferences. Okay? So, nagiging selection bias siya. Okay? And lastly is differentiate lang natin yung terms na bias, accuracy, and precision bias. This is, ang error is inborn. Ang bias naman is mistake. Masyadong malaki na siya. Okay? So, systematic distortion of measurement sources. Measurement flow, incorrect, sampling method. Normally, bias are mistakes. And we can correct them. Okay? Whereas, ang error naman is inborn na. So, pwedeng nasa instrument, nasa sample natin. So, random yun. We could not control the error. Yung bias is or mistake, pwede nating i-correct or i-control. Then we have accuracy. Gaano ka-accurate, gaano ka-tama. Ang precise naman, gaano ka-lapit sa tama yung ating result. Okay? So, accurate, gaano ka-tama. Precision, gaano ka-lapit sa tama yung ating data. Okay? So, for example, dito, so these are sa taas, these are examples ng precise data because assuming yung ating bullseye, kung ang ating bullseye yung tama or correct na information, and yung ating dots na yan, yung ating data collected, this is precise because malapit sila sa ating bullseye. Okay? Similar with this one, okay? So, magkakalapit-lapit yung ating data. Although slightly malayo, however, nagka-cluster, okay? So, dun nga sa definition clustering of values. Normally, kung saan nagka-cluster, malapit na rin dun yung ating tama because nagka-cluster sila, we could consider them as precise na data. Pag medyo malayo, imprecise sila. Gaya nito, nagkakalayo yung ating mga data, how much more dito. Okay? So, yan, as a sort of summary dun sa ating discussion dun, yung ating figure dito. So, this is nagka-cluster yung data pero malayo sa bullseye. So, this is accurate, not accurate pero precise. Yung pangalawa naman, okay, so nagka-cluster sila pero malayo. So we have precise and not accurate. Yung kanina pala is not accurate and not precise because magkakalayo sila and then malayo sa bullseye. Yung third naman is malapit sila sa bullseye pero magkakalayo. So this is accurate but not precise. At yung huli, magkakalapit and malapit na malapit sila sa bullseye, that is accurate and precise. And sa lahat ng ating research, we always want to have that kind of data, yung precise and accurate. And with that, salamat sa pakikinig. I hope you learn from all the 3 videos.